The sky above New Echelon City shimmered like broken glass. Every tower pulsed with electric veins, whispering data through the night. It was supposed to be my birthday, a quiet dinner with my daughter, a rare pause from the chaos. Instead, I found myself standing on the edge of Dock Line 42, watching stormlight bleed over the metallic sea. My name is Brestan Vale, mechanic, war veteran, and single dad to a little girl who deserves better than the fractured world I can give her. That night, the air hummed with static rain. Drones soared overhead, ferrying cargo between orbit stations. I could have gone home. I could have let the universe spin without me. But fate, if you can call it that, had other plans. A distress ping blinked across my HoloLens. Unregistered shuttle, crash signal, coordinates 42 degrees delta north, unknown species. Normally I'd ignore it. The military cleanup teams handle that kind of thing. But the message carried something I hadn't seen in years. A personal encryption signature, one matching an old friend from the colonial wars. So I went. The shuttle had gouged itself into the mud beyond the scrapyard walls, its hull still glowing hot from atmospheric entry. The wind screamed through fractured metal, scattering embers across the night. I drew my plasma torch, cut through the debris, and found her. An alien woman, skin like stormlight, pale teal, faintly luminous. Her left arm was torn, replaced with half-functional cybernetics, sparking from battle damage. And in her trembling hands, a small form, limp and motionless. A child. "Stay back," she gasped, voice trembling but fierce. Her accent bent every word into something almost musical. "I'm not here to hurt you," I said, dropping the torch. "You sent the signal." She hesitated, then collapsed forward. I caught her before she hit the ground. Her body was cold, unnaturally light. "My name's Neela," she whispered. "My ship was hunted. Please, save my daughter." The child's chest barely moved. I activated my medkit, scanning her vitals. Heartbeat, faint but there. Oxygen saturation, dropping fast. "I can stabilize her," I said, "but I need a sterile environment." Neela's silver eyes locked onto mine. "Take her. I'll follow when I can." Something in her tone, fear and defiance mixed like fire and ice, made me believe her. I wrapped the child in a thermal cloak and sprinted back toward the city spires. By the time I reached my garage loft, the storm had turned violent. Lightning struck the power grid, throwing shadows across the walls. My daughter Aria slept upstairs, unaware her father had dragged an alien life form into their home. The medpod hissed as I placed the child inside. The scanner hummed, analyzing her DNA, cycling through spectral layers. Then the screen flashed crimson. "Warning, unclassified genome detected. Biosignature contains hybrid markers." "Hybrid?" I muttered. "Human?" Before I could finish, the door burst open. Neela stumbled in, drenched in rain and ash. Her eyes blazed with urgency. "Is she alive?" "She's stable, for now." "But your DNA's strange. She's part human, isn't she?" Neela froze. For a heartbeat, the storm outside went silent. "She was never supposed to exist," she whispered. "They'll come for her. They'll kill anyone who shelters us." "Who's they?" She looked at me as if deciding whether to trust me or destroy me. "The Directorate. They built me to infiltrate human colonies. I was an experiment in emotional integration. But I fell in love with one of your kind, and we created her." I stepped back, the weight of her words sinking deep. "You're saying your daughter is proof aliens and humans can share a soul," she finished. Outside, thunder split the horizon. We didn't have time to process what she'd said. The walls began to vibrate, low mechanical tremors. My motion sensors lit up. A squadron of reconnaissance drones descended, their red optics slicing through the rain. "They tracked you," I said. Neela grabbed my wrist. "We can't fight them." "Not yet. You have to protect the girl." I looked at her, at the desperate fire in her eyes, and something in me shifted. Maybe it was the ghost of the soldier I used to be, or the father who couldn't let another child die tonight. "Aria!" I shouted upstairs. "Hide!" The window exploded inward as a drone fired. I tackled Neela to the floor. Sparks showered across the concrete. I grabbed the pulse rifle from beneath the workbench, fired once, twice. 2 drones down, 3 more circling. "Get the kid!" I yelled. Neela sprinted to the pod, shielding her daughter as the glass cracked under the barrage. "We need to move, now!" "Where?" I demanded. "Underground. There's a safe route beneath the scrapyard." Another explosion tore through the wall, sending us both sprawling. Through the smoke, I saw a figure step from the shadows outside. Tall, armored, face hidden behind a glass mask etched with silver runes. Neela went pale. "No, not him." "Who is he?" I asked. Her voice trembled. "The one who built me, Director Kale Soren." The man's modulated voice cut through the chaos. "You can't hide what belongs to me, Neela." The child's med pod began to pulse with light, her vitals spiking, systems overloading. I rushed to shut it down, but the console erupted in a surge of electric energy. The girl's eyes snapped open. They glowed like stars. Every drone froze midair. The power grid outside flickered, entire city blocks dimming in a single heartbeat. "Brestan," Neela whispered, awe and terror twisting her voice. "She's awakening." The air vibrated with an energy I couldn't name. My heart pounded as the child sat upright, staring directly at me. "Dad?" she whispered, and everything went white. The flash faded slowly. When my sight returned, the garage looked like a photograph frozen mid-explosion. Metal shards hovering, sparks paused in the air. And in the middle of it stood the alien child. Her eyes glowed the color of collapsed stars. The hum rolling off her skin wasn't sound. It was pressure, a vibration that made my ribs tremble. "Neela," I whispered. "What's happening to her?" Neela's voice shook. "She's tapping into the relay field." No one should even be able to sense that outside, the city had gone silent. No turbines, no traffic drones, nothing. The sky above New Echelon hung motionless, clouds frozen in mid-swirl like painted smoke. "She's not breathing," I said. "She doesn't need to," Neela answered. "She's synchronizing." The girl turned toward me. "You were there," she said. Her voice carried 2 tones, one child, one thunderstorm. "I was where?" "In the light, before the fall." Then everything moved again. The air crashed back into motion. Tools clattered, alarms screamed. The drones reactivated, but this time, they weren't firing. They were kneeling. Director Kale Soren stood outside the breach, helmet cracked from the blast. He raised a trembling gauntlet. "Contain her." "Do not fire," his soldiers hesitated, confused. He repeated the order softer. "She's the key." I lifted my rifle. "The key to what?" Cal's visor flickered, revealing eyes as human as mine. "To the next evolution. The merger of mind and code, flesh and algorithm. She can stop time or start it." Neela stepped between us. "You turned me into a weapon to make her possible." "You don't deserve her," Kale's tone sharpened. "And you deserve extinction? You stole technology you couldn't comprehend." Lightning cracked across the sky, striking the towers in sequence. 1, 2, 3, until the city grid formed a giant glowing sigil, visible even through the storm. The power surge rolled through every screen, every comlink. Kyle looked up in awe. "She's activating the ARC protocol," he breathed. "She's opening the sky." Neela grabbed my arm. "Brestan, we have to go, now!" I glanced at the med pod, now shattered, leaking violet fluid that smoked when it hit the floor. "Where do we run when she can freeze the world?" "To the underspires," she said. "Old war bunkers below Sector 9. Shielded from relay fields, we sprinted into the night. The girl between us, her eyes dimming but still alive with inner light. Behind us, Kyle shouted orders, and the drones took flight again. The streets were chaos. People poured from buildings, pointing upward as the sky split in geometric lines. Blue circuitry spreading across the clouds like a digital sunrise. Arya's voice crackled over my wristcom. "Dad? The power's out. What's going on?" I swallowed the panic. "Stay hidden. I'll find you." Neela looked at me. "You have another child?" "Yes." "Then you understand why I ran." For a moment, the war machines above were just background noise to her words. I did understand. Every father chooses the impossible when his child is in danger. We reached the freight tunnels. The girl, Neela called her Soria, was getting heavier, her glow fading. She's burning herself out, Neela said. Her neural lattice can't sustain that much energy. Then tell me how to help. You can't. She has to ground it herself. Soria opened her eyes weakly. It hurts, Mom. Neela pressed her forehead to the child's. Hold on, little star. Just a little longer. The tunnel lights flickered. A column of white drones descended from the ceiling, moving like ghosts through the dark. Kale's voice echoed through the calm static. Neela, surrender the prototype. The man and the child will be spared prototype. The word hit me harder than any bullet. You made her in a lab? Neela didn't answer. Her silence told me everything. I fired at the drones. The tunnel filled with smoke and ricochets. Neela dragged Soria toward an emergency hatch, sparks biting her mechanical arm. Then a pulse grenade rolled between us. Boom! I woke in the dark, ears ringing, concrete dust in my throat. The hatch was sealed. Neela and Soraya were gone. Above me, a faint blue line glowed along the tunnel wall, alien script scrolling like liquid light. Kyle's voice came again, closer now. You were never part of this equation, Brestan. Leave before she unravels you. I stood, bruised but breathing. Not a chance. You want the kid, you go through me. He stepped into view, removing his helmet. His face was eerily calm. You don't even know what she is. She isn't your savior. She's the storm that ends history behind him. The entire tunnel vibrated as power surged through the relay grid once more. A shock wave of blue light raced past, igniting every circuit. The ceiling cracked open, and a fragment of the night sky fell inward. A glowing sphere of static, spinning faster and faster until it expanded, swallowing everything in its path. Cal smiled through the chaos. She's calling the Ark. I barely managed to dive into the side shaft before the light consumed him. The world inverted. Up became down. Sound became silence. And somewhere within that blinding brilliance, I heard Soria's voice. Daddy, please help me stop it. When the light swallowed everything, I thought it was death. But death never felt like this. Weightless, soundless, stretched across 1,000 versions of myself. Then the world snapped back. I lay in the tunnel, half buried in dust, hearing only the slow tick of cooling metal. No drones, no Kyle, only a faint hum in the air, like a clock running backward. Neela's voice came through my comm, distorted but alive. Brestan, the arc pulse fractured the field. We're not in the same minute anymore. The same minute? The explosion bent time. Every breath we take is borrowed from a different second. I looked up. The tunnel wall shimmered, rippling like heat haze. My own hand flickered at the edges, skipping frames. Soria's power had torn a hole in reality. I found them deeper in the bunker, crouched beside an inactive generator. Soria lay unconscious, glowing faintly through her veins. Neela's mechanical arm sparked as she tried to shield the child from the radiation spill. She's stable, Neela said, not looking at me. But the Ark is awake. Kel will find another path to her. I knelt beside her. You said she can stop time. Can she fix it? She's too young. The Ark responds to emotion, fear, love, pain. They bend the field. That's why it chose her. The words hit me like shrapnel. Then what happens when she dreams again? Neela met my eyes. The universe pauses. We needed answers. My old war implants still connected to the orbital archives. A forgotten network the directorate thought I'd erased. I rerouted power, jacked in, and time folded around me. Memories rushed through the feed. The war, Kale's experiments, the classified files about Project Eon. A name appeared again and again. Neela Varus. Prototype empath unit, Phase 2. Terminated for treason. Terminated? I whispered. She heard me. They erased my records, not my heart. I ran because they wanted a weapon, and I wanted a daughter. I believed her. Maybe that was my second mistake. A tremor shook the bunker. Lights died. Then the walls split open, not with force but with absence. Time itself peeled away, revealing a void filled with glass shards of moments. People walking backward, raindrops climbing into clouds, a soldier frozen mid-scream. Kyle's voice bled through the static again. You can't hide in yesterday, Brestan. The Ark has already chosen her timeline. Neela grabbed Soria. We have to move! I fired into the shimmering air, hoping bullets meant anything to time. They didn't. The rounds slowed, hung, dissolved. The floor disintegrated beneath us. We fell, not down, but across. We landed in sunlight. The tunnel was gone. The city above us stood unbroken, its towers whole, unscarred. Traffic hummed. People laughed. New echelon before the war. I looked at Neela. She sent us back. Soria stirred, blinking at the brightness. Did I do that? Neela smiled through disbelief. Yes, little star. You did. Then I saw the hollow boards flashing election propaganda. Director Kyle Soren for Unity Chancellor. He was still human, still innocent, not yet the monster. Neela's voice trembled. We're standing in the year he found me. We hid in the alleys as Kale's campaign convoy passed. He looked younger, almost kind, but in his shadow marched soldiers wearing the same sigil that would later burn half the colonies. If we're here, I said, we could stop all of it. Neela shook her head. Changing the past kills the child. She exists because of what happened. Then why bring us here? Soria whispered. Because the sky isn't done falling. Above us, the clouds split, this time not from her power, but from something entering orbit, a colossal ring of light stretching across the heavens. The original Ark, still under construction. Neela stared up, horror dawning. They're about to activate it. The moment that doomed everything, I raised my rifle. Then we stopped the launch. Neela grabbed my hand. You'll be fighting a future that's already written. Then I'll rewrite it. For the first time, she smiled. Not a soldier's smile, a woman's. You sound like the man I fell for long before I met him. Before I could ask what she meant, the ground trembled again. Soldiers surrounded the alley. Kale's security unit. Their scanners locked on Soraya's energy signature. Protect her! I shouted. Neela's arm morphed into a weapon of pure plasma. She fired, cutting through the first wave. I covered her flank, every shot burning through echoes of the future I wanted to erase. Then Kale himself appeared at the alley mouth, calm, curious, unaware of who we were. Who are you people? He asked. Soria stepped forward, eyes glowing. You'll remember me. Light burst from her hands, pure time, raw and endless. Kale's face stretched between decades, young, old, dying, reborn. He screamed as the timeline collapsed around him. The shock wave threw us apart. I hit the wall, bleeding, half blind. When the dust cleared, Kale was gone. Only a burnt outline remained, and Neela and Soria were nowhere in sight. I staggered into the open street. The sky above shimmered, splitting into two versions, one blue, one burning red. Somewhere between them, a voice whispered through the static of my mind. Brestan, if you love her, find the place where time began. Then silence. The city froze mid-motion once more. People suspended like statues. And I realized the clock inside my wrist implant wasn't counting forward anymore. It was counting down. 0, 0, 59:59. 0, 0, 59:58. I used to think time slowed down when you were dying. Turns out it races like it's in on the joke. The readout on my wrist flickered crimson. 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. 1 hour before the reactor breach would swallow the outpost. 1 hour to find Neela and her daughter. 1 hour to make every mistake count for something. The corridors around me hissed and groaned. The blue timeline station, the real one, had already collapsed into a smear of light weeks ago. I was standing in its echo, the red timeline fragment the quantum split had left behind. It pulsed like a wound trying to remember what it once was. Brestan, you're still alive? Neela's voice cracked through the comm, half static, half hope. Barely, I said. I'm coming for you. Stay where you are, you shouldn't. The field's unstable. The transmission cut off. The clock ticked. 0 hours, 58 minutes, and 42 seconds. I ran. Every step was a negotiation with gravity. The corridors buckled under shifting timelines, walls turning liquid, floor tiles blinking between matter and memory. My body ached from the last jump. My bones didn't know which version of me they belonged to anymore. When I reached the observation deck, the glass showed two skies. One was the real one, dark and bleeding with nebulae. The other shimmered beneath it, a younger version of the same sky, where Neela and Soraya were still alive, laughing, unaware. If I could sync the two, if I could defy the split, I could drag them back. But it would kill me. The field would vaporize every atom I had left. I didn't care. Dad? The voice stopped me cold. Soria stood in the doorway, older, maybe 15 now. Eyes like her mother's. She shouldn't exist here. She was supposed to be gone, erased with the blue timeline. Yet here she was, clutching a small silver cube glowing with impossible light. Sweetheart, I breathed. How? Mom sent me, she said. She found a loop point. You have to reset the beacon before the hour ends. How much time? She pointed to my wrist. 003917. Can you take me to her? Soria nodded, but her face tightened. You're not supposed to see what she's become. We moved fast through the ruptured corridors. The closer we got to the reactor core, the heavier the air felt, like breathing through broken glass. Soria clutched the cube tighter. What is that? I asked. The part of you that never left her, she said. The day you skipped your birthday dinner, Mom kept a memory of it. She said it anchors the timelines. I almost laughed. That stupid birthday. The night I missed because I stopped to help a stranded woman with eyes like starlight. Maybe fate doesn't deal in coincidences, just choices that never stop echoing. When we reached the containment chamber, the walls were alive, not metaphorically, literally. Veins of energy crawled like lightning under skin, and at the center floated Neela, suspended in a cocoon of light. She wasn't human anymore. Not entirely. Her voice came through the air without sound. You came back. I always do. Her eyes opened, galaxies spinning inside them. You don't have much time. I know. I looked at Soria. She said you found a loop point. Neela nodded weakly toward the cube. It's the bridge, but it needs both of us. The readout blinked. 00:09:12. We stood around the cube, our hands barely touching its surface. It felt alive, pulsing like a second heart between us. When the light expanded, I saw flashes. The day Neela's ship crashed, the night Soria was born, the moment I promised to protect them both. Every memory threaded through us like DNA, rewriting itself. If this works, Neela whispered, the timelines will merge. But one of us has to stay here to anchor it. Then it's me, I said. She shook her head. You already gave up everything. Then let me give up a little more. The countdown hit 00:03:00. She smiled, sad, infinite. You were always the one who defied time, Brestan. I turned to Soria. When you wake up, everything will be different. You'll find your mother waiting. She shook her head, tears cutting through the glow. What about you? I smiled. Someone has to make sure the sky stays up. I triggered the loop. Light swallowed the chamber. For a moment, every version of me, every choice, every regret, merged into one. The reactor froze mid-explosion. Time stopped. Outside, two skies folded into one. When the light dimmed, only Neela and Soria remained on the observation deck. The readout on the floor blinked its final line before fading out. 00:00:00. Timeline restored. But in the reflection of the glass, behind them, a shadow stood watching. A version of me that shouldn't exist. And he whispered, the hour was just the beginning. When the light died, I thought I did too. Silence filled the station, the kind that hums between dying stars. I opened my eyes, but the world was wrong. Everything gleamed too sharply, as if reality had been freshly painted. The air shimmered with residue from the timeline merge. The reactor was gone, rebuilt as if the catastrophe had never happened. Neela and Soria stood by the glass, staring at a single sunrise. One sky now, not two. It worked, or so I thought. Neela, I called, stepping forward. She turned slowly. Her eyes widened, not with joy, with fear. You're not him. The words stabbed deeper than any blade. What are you talking about? I said, my voice echoing too loud in the empty hall. I'm Brestan. Soria clutched her mother's arm. Mom, he looks like Dad. He's not, Neela whispered. He's the echo that stayed behind. For a moment I couldn't breathe. The shadow in the glass, the one that stood after the loop, wasn't just an afterimage. It was me, a timeline duplicate, a ghost wearing my skin. I stepped closer, reaching out, but Neela backed away. Stay where you are, she said. You shouldn't even exist outside the fold. Her words stung because they were true. I remembered everything. My death, my choice, her face as I triggered the loop. If I was still here, then somewhere out there, the real me was gone. I'm still me, I said. Same thoughts, same heart. I remember you. I remember us. You remember, Neela said softly, but you're made of memory, not flesh. The ache in my chest burned like radiation. I looked down. My hands flickered, as if caught between frames of reality. A faint light pulsed beneath my skin. Then what am I? I whispered. The station systems hummed to life. A cold, synthetic voice filled the chamber. Quantum anomaly detected. Containment breach. Deck 9. Neela's eyes went wide. No, the merge didn't stabilize. It fractured again. Soria stepped toward me. Dad, can you stop it? I smiled bitterly. Depends on which version of me you're asking. We raced down the corridor, the hum of collapsing timelines roaring behind us. Every light flickered in a rhythm, like a heartbeat slowing to death. Neela tried rerouting the power grid while I forced open the access locks. She hesitated once, glancing at me as if searching for the man she'd lost. I wasn't sure she'd find him. When we reached Deck 9, the walls were breathing again. A dark sphere hovered midair, devouring light, a timeline bleed, and inside the sphere floated another figure. My figure. Oh God, Neela breathed. He's still in there. The real Brestan. The recoil burned my shoulder, but I didn't stop. Each shot cracked the air with a blue ripple. The raiders fell, but more replaced them. Neela ducked behind a console, pulling Soria close. Brestan! I've got them, I yelled, unloading another charge. Get to the escape shaft. A grenade rolled across the floor. Time slowed. I dove forward, covering them as the blast consumed everything. Light, heat, silence. The air was too clean. It had no taste of metal, no echo of engines, no hum of gravity coils. Just wind and sunlight, like the memory of a world that had never learned war. I stood there barefoot in the grass, feeling weight for the first time in what felt like centuries. The seed had worked, or it had rewritten everything. In the distance, Soria laughed, the same bell-clear sound I died to protect. Neela, or someone wearing her shape, knelt beside her, tracing patterns in the soil. When she looked up, the horizon rippled, reality glitched. You shouldn't be awake yet, she said quietly. The new world isn't finished remembering itself. I walked toward them. Each step bent the light, turning sky into shards of color. Is this real? I asked. It's new, she answered. That's all we know so far. The plains flickered again. Cities forming, then dissolving. Mountains folding back into air. The seed was still writing its story, line by line. And I realized the terrible truth. That when the smoke cleared, Neela was screaming my name. I'm fine, I coughed, blood on my lip. Go! We reached the emergency shaft. The elevator was gone, cables cut. Neela glanced upward, then pressed her palm against the wall. Energy surged from her skin, forming a glowing spiral. An alien symbol twisting the metal open. We climbed through the heat and chaos, every breath tasting like fire. Halfway up, the comm crackled again. You can't win, brother. You're fighting ghosts. So are you, I growled, climbing faster. But mine, remember. When we reached the command deck, the planet below was burning. Cities once filled with light were now rivers of flame. Adrix's fleet had cut the sky into ribbons of smoke. Neela pulled the orb from Soria's hands and set it on the console. Inside, a faint pulse flickered. Not mechanical, not organic, but something in between. What is that? I asked again. She looked up at me, eyes full of something between shame and fear. It's not a weapon, she said softly. It's a seed. A seed, she nodded, of a new reality. The merge wasn't meant to save us. It was meant to replace what was broken. That's why the Dominion wants it. Whoever controls it controls what exists. I stared at her, realization cutting through the chaos. You built God. The deck trembled as the Leviathan core locked position above us. Its main cannon glowed crimson, the same color that once lit my brother's armor. He was going to vaporize the station, the planet, the merge, everything. Neela, I said, we can't stop that blast. She touched the orb, her voice trembling. There's one way. If we trigger the seed now, it will rewrite this timeline. But it'll need an anchor, a mind to guide it. You mean someone has to die? I said. Not die, she whispered. Dissolve. The station shook again. The cannon was charging. Who? I asked. Her eyes lifted to mine. It has to be you. For a heartbeat, everything froze. The alarms, the screams, even Soria's sobs faded. All I could hear was the pulse of the orb. Slow, steady, waiting. Neela, I already died once. And that's why you're the only one who can. You're the echo. You can enter the seed without erasing the rest of us. I looked at Soria, the little girl who once whispered, "Please be my dad." Her eyes were wet. "Will you come back?" I smiled through the ache. Maybe in a world that remembers. The Leviathan core's cannon blazed, ready to fire. Neela pressed her palm to my chest, her energy merging with mine. Light twisting, folding space around us. The seed opened like a flower made of stars. "Brestan," she whispered, "whatever happens, find us." Then she pushed me into the light. The explosion never came. I fell through a tunnel of fractured moments, flashes of my own life unraveling backward. Neela's first smile, Soria's laugh, Adrix's betrayal, the first war, the last goodbye, all collapsing into white silence, and then I heard a voice, faint, distant, but real. "He's inside it." The echo entered the seed. Another replied, "Then history begins again." When I opened my eyes, I was standing in sunlight. Green grass stretched across an endless plain. The sky was perfect. Too perfect. And there in the distance walked a child holding someone's hand. Soria. And the woman beside her looked like Neela, but not quite. She turned, smiled. "Welcome back," she said, "but you're not supposed to be here yet." And just like that, the sky cracked, as if the world itself remembered it was never meant to exist. The air was too clean. It had no taste of metal, no echo of engines, no hum of gravity coils, just wind and sunlight, like the memory of a world that had never learned war. I stood there barefoot in the grass, feeling weight for the first time in what felt like centuries. The seed had worked, or it had rewritten everything. In the distance, Soria laughed, the same bell-clear sound I'd died to protect. Neela, or someone wearing her shape, knelt beside her, tracing patterns in the soil. When she looked up, the horizon rippled. Reality glitched. "You shouldn't be awake yet," she said quietly. "The new world isn't finished remembering itself." I walked toward them. Each step bent the light, turning sky into shards of color. "Is this real?" I asked. "It's new," she answered. "That's all we know so far." The plains flickered again, cities forming, then dissolving, mountains folding back into air. The seed was still writing its story, line by line. And I realized the terrible truth. The seed hadn't created a paradise. It had created a draft, a world rewriting itself until someone gave it an ending. Soria ran into my arms, solid and warm. "Dad," she whispered, "did we win?" I wanted to tell her yes, but above us, the clouds twisted into familiar shapes. Warships, their silhouettes drawn by memory itself. Old ghosts of the Dominion. Adrix's voice rolled across the sky like thunder. "You can't erase what remembers you." The world trembled. My brother was here too, not in body but in code. His consciousness had been copied the moment the Leviathan core exploded. Now it was loose inside the seed, fighting to rewrite it in his image. Neela's reflection flickered, her skin glowing faintly. He's infected the new reality. If he stabilizes first, everything becomes his. The ground split open. Metallic roots coiled upward, forming towers of black glass. Machines born from Adrix's will tore through the sky. I pulled Saria behind me. Neela, how do we stop him? You don't stop a god, she said. You overwrite him. Her eyes met mine, the same eyes that once begged me to survive. I built a failsafe, she said. Someone tied to the seed's origin could take control of it, but it will consume their mind completely. You mean me, I said. She nodded. The irony wasn't lost on me. Every war, every sacrifice, just to give the universe one more chance, and it always came back to surrender. Adrix's voice echoed through the wind again, closer now. Brother, you can't win. Every version of you ends the same way. Broken, forgotten, obsolete. Maybe, I said softly, but this time you're wrong about one thing. And what's that? I'm not alone. Neela's hand slid into mine. Energy flared between us, alien and human code merging like threads of light. Soria pressed her small hands to ours, her pulse syncing with ours. 3 heartbeats, 1 rhythm. The sky exploded. We rose into the air, lifted by a column of light from the seed's core. All around, Adrix's constructs screamed, their forms unraveling as we rewrote the pattern. I saw fragments of every timeline. Our first meeting on the frontier station, the war that tore us apart, the moment I died to save her, all collapsing into a single truth. Love was the constant, not the kind written in stories, but the kind that refused deletion. Brestan, Neela whispered, voice shaking. If you let go, you'll fade completely. I smiled. Then make sure you remember me right. I reached into the seed. It felt like touching the heart of a star. Every memory, every life, every version of me burning at once. Adrix's presence slammed into mine, rage and static. You can't kill me. I don't have to, I said. I just have to remember better than you do. And I pushed. Light swallowed everything. No sound, no time. Just a single thought echoing through the void. Let there be peace. When the light faded, I was standing again. This time inside a small home under a violet sky. Soria was drawing on the floor. Neela hummed in the next room. No alarms, no war. I looked at my hands. They were fading, edges shimmering like mist. The seed had finished its story, and I was no longer needed to hold it together. Neela appeared in the doorway, eyes red from crying. I can feel you slipping, she whispered. Tell me what to do. I stepped forward, brushing a strand of her hair back. You already did. You made a world that doesn't need me to save it anymore. Soria ran to me, hugging my leg. Don't go, Dad. I knelt, placing a hand over her heart. You'll see me in the starlight every time it rains. That's where echoes hide. The world pulsed one last time. Colors melted into white. Brestan, Neela's voice called faintly. What happens now? Now, I said, smiling as the light took me, you live. Somewhere far away, in a universe reborn, a little girl looked up at the night sky. 2 stars crossed paths, then merged into one.